Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Just because I let it slide doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart till it's almost white. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.
Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs report. It's the Sports Lab. I'm your host, Jimmy Wood, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet? Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on this Friday night. And what a difference 2 weeks makes, right? I was coming on this show, was upset, I was pissed off, I was extra motivated. I didn't get my sales bonus, and today I hit the sales bonus. You go from 220 to 230. So how do we start off the Sports Web after that? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we will have ABC Action News' Mr. Dennis Phillips, a meteorologist, talking sports with us. At 9:30, we will have Harry the Greek breaking down the Week 13 matchups. Who does he like in this? I like what he does. He does a great job on Ray's show, of course, Cup of Ray. So we'll get his thoughts. At 10 o'clock, we will have newest member of Bucs Report, Mr. Chuck Fonshell, on with us, talking about the latest stories having to do with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because there is some stuff, but it's a bye week. So we've been kind of, slacking a little bit, I guess, on news. So we'll see what we can come up with. And then at 10:30, we will have Juan Agadello of the Tough Bucs podcast. And then, of course, your phone calls, as always, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. So did you guys have a good week so far? Is everybody unstressed out at this juncture? I wanted to read some comments because I actually had is Scotty Miller a forgotten receiver? That's what Mike D. Roche says. But I want to take some phone calls tonight, but I actually want to read some of these comments, and let me turn down my thing here, because my question for everybody out there, we'll wait for Dennis Phillips. He's on vacation at Disney World. Hopefully he joins us. If he doesn't, we'll have you. We'll talk with you, and we'll see what some of these comments came out to be. But I'm going to go ahead, leave the watch party. I'm going to go out to my Facebook page, and I'm going to read some of these comments, because the question was, are you happy with the Bucs 7-5 record so far? If you're not, tell me why you're not happy. Now, I was kind of surprised because it was kind of split, but I want to read a lot of these comments because I didn't get a chance to read them. So let me see if I can get to them. Okay, so we got 16 comments. Let's see here. Joey Deep says, the biggest disappointment is the coaching staff to me. We have an absurd amount of weapons on this team, and we constantly are underperforming. Every game we start slow. Every game we are unprepared. Almost every game we seem like we're out-coached. Byron Leftwich cannot find any sort of consistency on offense. Todd Bowles has been absolutely terrible in game preparation, game plan, and game adjustments. And bottom line, we are better than this. That's kind of how I feel. And a lot of people telling me, you should be happy with 7-5. And I say no, because you could be better than 7-5 if more than likely you're prepared, you're not making mental mistakes. Most likely this team could have beaten the Rams, even the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chicago Bears. We talked about it. So, and we will definitely get to Mike Greeny's comments too. We'll get out to those, and we'll read the comments from people on kind of what we've been saying here on Bucs Report. And I don't mind, sports broadcasters kind of taking what we say. I don't know if they watch our shows, but we watch their shows. So it's kind of interesting how a lot of people think we try to emulate them. No, we do our own thing here. We do what we do. We give an opinion. If you like it, you like it. You come back. If you don't, then you can always call in and text in. But right now, I want to read these comments, and then we'll get back to it. As a fan, Tony Saylor says, as a fan, I've been constantly kicked in the nuts by this franchise. So as long as they get into the playoffs, I will be happy. Tony Brown, who is the troll on my page all the time, pretty realistic chance you won't be happy. And like I said, Dennis Phillips is running a little bit late, but I wanted to read these comments in the first place. So we'll wait for him. No, not in the slightest, says Misador. Everyone wanted a 1-year turnaround because the Super Bowl is in Tampa. This clearly is a 2-year plan. Ride the wave. Because we only are going to get better as a 100-year-old quarterback gets older, says Tony Brown. Funny, everyone was convinced we were going 19-0 this year, and now all of a sudden it's a 2-year plan.
And then Misador says, it's always been a 2-year plan. It's funny how some people can be so dumb and not pick up on it. Brady signed a 2-year deal. It's been said since BA came here, their first year in the offense is difficult, but the year 2, the offense is in full stride. Don't get mad because you didn't see this happening. Tom Williams says, not disappointed at all because this is expected. You basically have the same roster, same coaching staff, thinking that adding Brady and Gronk was going to give them, 13 to 14 wins? That's absurd. Guess he's talking to me because I did think that way. I wasn't alone in my assessment. Colin Cowherd thought they would be 13-3. I like Cowherd. I think he got it wrong, though. They're going to win the Super Bowl. I still feel that way. Some people disagree. That's absurd to think like that. Brady uses motion, but Arians hates it, so if they barely use it, name a time where a quarterback went to a new team and won in this first year. It's usually year 2 or 3. Tom Williams, to give you some credence to that comment, that would be Joe Montana, his first year with the Kansas City Chiefs, taking them all the way to the AFC Championship game. So there you go. Do your research on that. Tim Weatherspoon says, not disappointed. We're 7-5 with a fairly soft schedule to finish the year. We're in good shape to build some momentum going into January. Plus, we're actually talking about playoff implications instead of next year's draft. Go Bucs and fire those cannons, as I shall. And anytime we say playoffs, we got to play this.
Playoffs?
Yes.
We'll talk about playoffs?
Yes.
You kidding me?
Playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yes, Jim, absolutely. So let me go ahead and plug this phone back in. Stand by. See, we're doing, I don't have a producer, so I have to do it all myself here. There you go. See how that works? Okay. Now, we'll get back to the watch party here. As you can hear, there's some static on the line, but definitely get on the phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So, again, I asked the question, I bring it up. Are you happy with the Bucs record at 7-5? Why or why not? 727-255-0391. Want to go out to the webheads here. Why not sign Earl Thomas? Hell, we signed Super Diva Brown. There's a reason. There obviously has to be a reason why they haven't signed Thomas. There has to be a reason why a lot of teams haven't signed Thomas. And the reason is more than likely he's a malcontent. He's seen his best days. And look, you're willing to take on a talented player if they're still talented. But if they're not, and then on top of it, they're a cancer to the locker room, it's not going to work out. It's just not. So, yeah, that's where I'm looking at this point. I think that's why teams have kind of avoided him altogether. So let's see here. Mike DuRocher says we should be 10-2. Earl says 76 has got to be replaced. Offensive coordinator should be replaced immediately. As soon as we brought in 81, we turned to you know what. They're 1-3. That's for sure. So it's definitely, I don't necessarily think it's AB. And I was asking somebody off air today to give me the statistics on how much and what he's doing. The Bucs are not force feeding him the ball. It seemed like it when he came in. I don't necessarily think he's ruined that locker room. You would hear something, look, there's too much social media out there to think that there's not something else going on. So if there were something going on, you would most likely hear about it. So let me get back to this watch party here. And when we go out to it, there we go. All right. Got back to it. Tom says Trent Dilfer. Know what that's all about. 4 years ago, we were 7-5, nothing to get excited about. Then Dallas happened. No, I definitely remember that. I definitely remember the 3-5 start. And then they come back and 7-5, and then they finish the season 9-7. I agree. I absolutely agree. But there's something different about this team. And you almost feel like, look, they are not playing up to what we expect with the players that they have. And we talked about it ad nauseum in the postseason, or not the postseason, the off season with the moves they made with Rob Gronkowski and of course Evans and Godwin and Tom Brady and his pedigree to win playoff games and his pedigree to win Super Bowl championships. And you would expect that. And the defense coming off of what they did last year in the second half of the year, you would think that the expectations would be higher. And I agreed. I believed that the expectations should be higher. It's a different team than 2016. I don't feel like they're going to fall apart. But if they do, could there be some decisions being made? Absolutely. There definitely could be some decisions being made. Of course, you got to finish. 7-5, it's not over yet. You have an opportunity to run the table, Bucs fans. What do you think? Do you have confidence in them to run the table here with the Minnesota Vikings coming up next Sunday? Do you have confidence with them facing the Atlanta Falcons twice after what the Falcons did to the Raiders? You can't figure out the Falcons. One week, the Falcons are getting bounced out. The next week, they're bouncing other teams out. The Raiders play the Jets this week. Could that be an upset special that Harry the Greek has at 9:30? We'll get the latest from him. So I would say this. I definitely think they have an opportunity to run the table, but it comes down to their offense. And I think Mike Greening really had some interesting comments here. Pay attention. We'll go to those, and then we'll get out to Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
All right, we have spent a lot of time debating whose offense the Bucs are running. Is it Tampa Tom or Buccaneer Bruce? Here's what let's do. Let's shelve that and just get to something everyone can agree on. It is the wrong offense, and it is flat killing the football team. Let me count the ways. First, play action. Tom Brady is second in the league in yards per play when they run it, but that is almost never. Only 2 teams in the sport have run it less. That makes no sense. Last Sunday, head-to-head, Patrick Mahomes ran play action 17 times, Brady 5. The next problem is motion. His last 3 seasons in New England, Brady's teams were second in using pre-snap motion. Worked out well. They went 36-12. They made 2 Super Bowls. This year, the Buccaneers are 15th, despite Brady's passer rating being 24 points higher when they do it. And he is pressured, hit, and sacked less. Those are facts. They're not opinions. But none of it is as bad as this. The no risk it, no biscuit thing is a disaster. Brady has thrown more deep balls than any quarterback in the league, despite the fact that he's 26th in completion percentage on those throws. And all the Bucs do is throw it. They pass on 66% of their plays. That's the highest for Brady in his career. They're 28th in the league in rushing, and they had 1 game in which they ran it 5 times. That's the fewest in any NFL game since they started keeping stats, which was 1933. So, how's it going? Tampa is 7-5. They finally have their bye. Maybe they change things up. It isn't too late. None of the 4 games left on their schedule is against a winning team. But if the next month doesn't look different and a whole lot better, the question is going to be, do Brady and Bruce run this back again next year? And if so, the even better question might just be, why?
And exactly. And welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. That was in care of Get Up from Mike Greenberg of ESPN, the mothership here. What do you think of the comments? Because to me, it's definitely, you got to win now. And I talked about it, Super Bowl or bust with this team. We'll read these comments, and then we'll get out to Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News here. Let's see what Mike has to say. That was a report today. Belichick would trade for Brady. Just wondering when the season's over. I wonder who stays and goes. I agree. Tom says primetime and bye weeks kill the Bucs every year. And Benny says it really gets me, all these so-called Bucs fans wanting to throw the Bucs under the bus because we hit some rough seas. Back off or walk the plank. Wait until the regular season ends and then see what happens. Getting to the playoffs right now. The first goal. P.S. James Wilder for Ring of Honor. Like it, Benny. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and go out to Mr. Dennis Phillips of Channel 28 ABC Action News along. And he's on vacation, guys. That's the kind of sacrifice he decided to make for you all tonight to come on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. So let's go ahead and get him on. Dennis Phillips, welcome back to the evolution. The Bucs are sitting at 7-5. Are you happy with it, or are you just a little bit disappointed? Welcome to the evolution, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you hear me?
I absolutely can hear you, and I really appreciate you
good.
Time with you being on your vacation to give us your time here on the show.
Just took a couple of days off. We're over in Orlando. Took the kids to the parks. So today was day 1. We've got 2 more days of it with the Christmas stuff, so it'll be fun. I'll tell you, answering your question, I think a lot of folks probably, if you look back at the beginning of the season, you say it's 7-5, 8-4. I think that's a number a lot of folks were talking about. But you and I remember before the season started, it was kind of Super Bowl or bust in a lot of folks' mind,
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're exactly right. A lot of people have criticized me saying, you shouldn't say Super Bowl or bust. But Dennis, I look at it this way: you're getting Tom Brady, you have Rob Gronkowski carrying over last year with the defense and their play. So there's plenty of talent here. In your opinion, can the Bucs run the table with this offense and their inconsistencies?
I think you hit the nail on the head. How are you going to run the table with those inconsistencies? I mean, you've got, and I go, a lot of people have injuries. I mean, there are so many teams out there. I hate when folks say, well, look at our injuries. I mean, because, yeah, some teams are hit harder than others. Or, well, this week, Will Fuller gets suspended for 6 weeks because of PEDs. Not that Houston was in it, but the point is everybody's got some issues. And, Godwin being out for a long time, Antonio Brown, some people are saying, well, maybe he's messed with the chemistry. Evans has actually been pretty healthy for at least for the last few weeks. But I find it hard to believe at this point anybody's going to say that this team can run the table. There just hasn't been that consistency that you're talking about. I mean, look at Rojo. I mean, he's been either feast or famine, right? And Fournette, who I loved. When Fournette got signed and when they made that deal with Jacksonville, I'm thinking that's the missing key because you've got a two-headed monster, and Fournette has just shocked me. He's done nothing after that 1 week where everybody said, oh, okay, well, now he's the guy. And ever since then, he hasn't been the guy. So I don't have an answer. I don't think anybody does, right? I mean, this team has everybody guessing. And then, of course, you've got the potential issues between the head coach, Arians, and Brady, And then, I don't know. It's not a train wreck. I still think they're a good team. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. But, man, it's not Super Bowl or bust right now. That's for sure.
No, that's for sure. We're on with Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. And right now he's at Disney World with his family. Some time out here on the Sports Web to talk Bucs football. You're exactly right. That's not how I feel. I feel differently about it now. I feel like if the Bucs do run the table or at least lose one more game, they're going to be 10-6, and more than likely they could probably win one playoff game. But as far as Super Bowl, I just can't see it. And I'll tell you why, because like you said, with a Ronald Jones, a victim of volume, you have to get him more carries than 9, which you saw last Sunday versus the Chiefs. And even Coach BA talked about it. They keep on talking about how they want to get the run game involved, whether it's Fournette or Jones, and yet they continue to do the same thing. It's so maddening because you go back to last year, and it's the same type of offense, one-dimensional offense, throw 40 times a game, no running game, and basically put your quarterback in not only harm's way, but put him out there to throw turnovers and have interceptions, and that's exactly what has been going on.
Yeah, and the one thing that's hard to ignore is this team has handled mediocre or bad teams really well, but against the good teams, they just haven't been there. I mean, you can say they shouldn't have even been on the field with the Saints, and a lot of late work against the Chiefs made the score respectable, but most of that game wasn't respectable. So I think the irony about this, and I'm not sure the numbers, I haven't looked at them, but if they're a wild card team, isn't there a pretty decent chance they end up playing the winner of the NFC East, which would not be a good team? So, I mean, they could very easily, if that's the way it plays out, and they have to play that winner, well, they got as good a shot as any against the Redskins or the Giants or the Cowboys or the Eagles or whatever. So, yeah, I think I'm not feeling all that good about it, but we all know how this is. As bad as a team can look 1 week, if all of a sudden they have a great week, then everybody's back all in again and they're back on the bandwagon. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Dennis. And do you think there is some type of friction going on between Coach BA and Tom Brady, in your opinion? And can they work it out? Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing that winning doesn't fix. Nothing that winning doesn't fix. You know that. I mean, I'm sure Brady and Belichick were never warm and fuzzy buddies, but they were winning, so they put up with each other. And I'm sure the same would be true. I mean, Brady came here to win a Super Bowl. He didn't come here because he needed the money. He didn't come here because he needed to go to Tampa, needed to revive his career. He came here because he thought he had the pieces with those receivers, with Godwin and with Evans, and now with AB and with Gronk to win a Super Bowl. So anything I would say, even though we say it's Super Bowl or bust, I think in Brady's mind, it's also Super Bowl or bust. There is no way he would have come to this city and played for this team, leaving the Patriots, unless he thought he had a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl and to do it in Tampa, no less.
Yeah, I tell you right now, we talked about the coaching in the offseason, and we were pretty happy about BA and Byron Leftwich and, of course, Todd Bowles. But it just certainly seems like in the last couple games here, they're getting out coached. How can you explain this? Why does it take the Bucs, in your opinion, so long to make those necessary adjustments, not only offensively but defensively?
Here's my question for you. Are they really getting out coached, or have they played a superior team 2 out of the last 3 weeks with the Saints and with the Chiefs? So, I get it. And I know there's always going to be question marks about the quarterback play, the fact that the team doesn't start out very well. They're always playing from behind, and I'm going to throw 40 or 50 times. Brady can't throw a completion over 20 yards, all that stuff. We all hear that. But I think the reality of it is right now is that the Chiefs and the Saints are just better teams than the Bucs right now. And we'll see if that begins to change. But I'll tell you, there's nothing in my mind that I've seen in those two games that makes me think, oh, it was coaching or they got up to a slow start. They just were not as good as those two other teams, as simple as that.
I agree with that to a certain point, but also I will say when they're down 17-0 to the Chiefs, it seems like they give up on their running games. When you have a situation versus the Saints, and basically you have when instead of running the ball, you run the ball 5 times, you throw the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's what I would talk about. What are you more disappointed in? The offensive inconsistency for the defense lately, because they've been giving up a lot of big plays. Namely, they did that versus the Chiefs, over 200 yards to one wide receiver. Have you ever seen that in your life?
Yeah. I mean, that game with Tyreek was just crazy. We've talked about this. I'm a huge fantasy football guy. I've got 4 or 5 teams. I know a lot of folks, if are watching a sports show right now, probably also are big into fantasy football. And this is a big weekend right now, because if this is the weekend teams decide whether they make the playoffs or not. So, I can tell you when I saw Tyreek drop to 60 or 70 points in fantasy last week, it just blew my mind. I never seen anything like it. So, I don't know. Again, I'm not the kind of guy that I'll overreact when I see a terrible performance on one week, but it's hard for me to ignore the performances 2 of the last 3 weeks against superior teams. It's not to say they can't put it together. I mean, we've seen this team have a great offensive explosion, but I ask you that again. Was that against a really good team, or was it maybe a mediocre or a lower quality team? And I that's something I don't have the answer to.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because you beat the Packers, you beat the Raiders, the Panthers you handled, but the Panthers are really not a good team, but they've been competitive. So you're exactly right. But again, it's not like the Bucs haven't beaten good teams. It's just like they're getting mauled, they're getting beat by the Rams. To me, that was when they got out-coached because of the game plan and everything like that. With all that being said, you spoke about fantasy football. How are you doing this year, and who's your top players?
So I'm doing pretty good. I have a league that I run myself, and I'm just killing it in that league. That's my money league, and I've already locked in first place at 10-2 or 11-2. I can't remember, and I've got a superior team. But y'all know, anybody who's watching the fantasy, it doesn't matter how good your team is, because on any given, I've lost 2 games, and they've been to both of the worst teams in the league, because that's fantasy football. So no matter how stacked you are, I've got DeAndre Swift. I had Fuller. He's gone. I've got Kamara, who's done nothing since Drew Brees is gone, because, Hill is just stealing all the carries away from him. So, that team I'm killing it in. Another one, Todd Wright, who actually, ESPN Radio, a local guy, he runs that league, and I made the playoffs in that league last week. I have one more league that I'm in, and that one I'm the guy who played everybody who had the great week that week. I've got like 3rd or 4th highest points, but I don't have that good of a record. So I think I'm really close to making the playoffs. The answer to your question is, it looks like I'm probably going to make the playoffs in all my leagues, but I'm the kind of guy that I don't go with a good quarterback. I stream my quarterbacks every week, and I usually put my money in in running backs. Well, this year, that wasn't a good move for a lot of folks. You lost CMC, you lost Saquon. Zeke has done nothing. I mean, your top three guys that you figured were going to own fantasy football as running backs this year did absolutely nothing. And Kamara, the last few weeks, hasn't done anything either. So, I mean, when you're relying on guys like James Robinson and Gallman right now, they're the Giants. I mean, who would have thought that was going to happen, right?
No, I never would have thought it was going to happen at all. I'm going to get you out of here in this because I can hear the kids in the background there for your time. How's the weather looking here in the next couple of weeks? I know that we got a cold front in here. It was about 30 or 40s for a couple of days, and then it went back to normal. Is it going to be normal, or are we going to get cold again?
Yeah, we're going to get cold again. We got a front coming in tonight, a few showers overnight. Tomorrow morning, we're back in the 60s. Highs tomorrow and Sunday in the 60s. I think we're going to see some rain later Sunday and early Monday, especially south of I-4. And then Monday through Thursday next week, you're back in the 60s for highs. So we're getting a break from all that warm weather. I suspect by next weekend into the following week before Christmas, temperatures are going to start to warm up again. So we talked weather and sports here. Those are my two passions.
Absolutely. And anytime you want to do that, because I love weather myself, and some people actually thought that if the sports thing doesn't work out, maybe I could become a meteorologist like yourself. But nobody's better than Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, my friend.
Well, thanks. You know, it's the only job you can be wrong half the time and still get a paycheck. So, I mean, I'm fortunate.
All right, buddy. Definitely don't be a stranger. Enjoy that vacation here. All right.
Thanks. Nice talking to you.
All right. There you go. Good stuff there from Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. I mean, that's sacrifice. He's giving you the weather. He's out there on vacation at Disney World trying to enjoy it, and he's coming on the evolution of sports talk television, the sports web, powered by 320solar.com. So, guys, let's hear from you. What do you have to say? Am I going to hear crickets tonight? I mean, is this what we're going to do? This how we're going to do it tonight? I mean, you guys are killing me, man. I came in with my monologue telling you I made fourth bonus and I made money and I'm not upset tonight and I'm not going to call you trolls. And you give me absolutely no calls. So, again, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. You gave me some comments, though, so we'll read these comments, and then we'll get back to it. Mike D. Roche says, Dennis, are you at Bahama Bay Resort? He is not. He's actually at Disney World. Let's see. You mean the NFC least? Christopher Cole says, hey, guys, I'm sitting outside by a fire listening to the sports web. I love it. And ask, and you shall receive. Curtis from Newport Richie, one of my favorite web heads, leading it off here on the sports web. What do you have to say here on this Friday night?
Well, I got a lot to say, but let's just start here. I'm tired of this whole playoff talk already.
Playoffs.
I feel like we're going to make the playoffs, and I feel like if we can just get a little consistency.
Right.
And we go into these next couple weeks. And, you know, this whole no risk it, no biscuit thing, I want to kind of take that and crumble it up and throw it in a wastebasket.
Because it doesn't work right now. It's not working.
Because against, like, the Chiefs, you know Tyreek Hill and you know Travis Kelce were coming.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second half of that game, when you doubled them, for the most part, you shut that Kansas City offense down.
Exactly.
And you should have knew. I mean, listen, I love Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis wasn't ready for Tyreek Hill.
No. And the Bucs didn't put him in position to be ready. You put him on an island against one of the fastest wide receivers in the league. Does that make any sense to you? I know that. You know that. The webheads know that. The broadcasters know that. The coaches have to know that. And if the coaches know that, then they're going to expose that.
And I feel like another thing is I don't know how you feel about this, Peter, but I think it would be a great thing for this team if Bruce Arians added a freaking fullback.
Had a what?
If we added a fullback and we had somebody and our running back stopped coming straight from out of the backfield by themselves. I mean, we play in a league now where you see teams are implementing, fullbacks again, and they're having success running the ball.
Right.
I mean, look at the Raiders. The Raiders run up and down the field with their fullback.
Right. And you're exactly right. San Francisco has had a fullback. Kansas City even somewhat had a fullback there. I believe they had a fullback at one time, but it's one of those positions that you're going to see it not happen. It's not going to happen in that offense. And we even talked to Rob's brother, Chris Gronkowski, and he even said it, that there's never going to be a fullback in this offense. And hell, I'll take a situation where it's 3rd and 3 and you don't have Tom Brady in the backfield by himself in the shotgun. I mean, because that doesn't help you. That defense knows you're going to pass the ball. To me, I'll take something along the lines of a running back being back there or being under center or, game planning to run the ball and instead of first down, run the ball on 2nd and 3rd down where the defense doesn't expect it. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, if we like a third, I'll give you an example. Just like you said, 3rd and 3. You got your starting 5 offensive line. You bring what's that kid's name? Not is it Josh Wells?
Yes, Josh Wells, the offensive lineman.
Yes, you bring him in. You bring him in as an extra blocker. You put Gronk in as an extra blocker. Then you got a fullback, and then you got Leonard Fournette or Ronald, and then you put Godwin in at receiver.
Right.
That is a nice package to run out of.
It is, but we don't see that being ran out of.
You have all that. And don't get me wrong, I love Mike Evans, but Chris Godwin is the better blocker.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I'm tired of watching us drop Tom Brady back for passes on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. That's stupid.
Yep.
I'll even go back to the Saints game. When we got the doors blown off of us, we were on 1st and goal on the 1 yard line. We threw the ball 3 times and ran it once. That was stupid.
Yep. It doesn't make any sense. You're on the 1 yard line. If you believe in your running game, and all this talk was, we believe in Rojo, we believe in him. And again, I get the fact that he's not the necessarily best blocker. He does make some mistakes. He made a mistake on the interception to Scotty Miller. We talked about it this week, but at the end of the day, he is your best playmaker. He is your best chance for you to not only have a running back that can, be explosive, but have consistency. Yep. Leonard Fournette has been disappointing. And to me, I thought Fournette was going to bring something to this team where he could challenge Rojo.
You know what, Peter? I agree with you, but I'm going to tell you where I don't kind of agree, because if you look at it, when he played in Jacksonville, he was like your motto, he is a victim of value. Fournette got stronger as the game went on.
That's a fair point.
He's not getting the necessary. He's not the bell cow, so he's not getting the necessary carries.
I think you're right about that. I just don't think he works in the offense. He just doesn't work. He looks like he's a fish out of water. He's not necessarily blocking. In fact, PFF has him as one of the lowest blocking running backs, one of the worst blocking running backs in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, that's just not good. If you're bringing in the guy and all you hear, and look, they're not wrong. Coaches are not wrong. They're going to know more than we do, obviously. But that's what you hear from coaches. The reason why they bring in Fournette on a lot of the passing situations is because they have confidence. The reason why they bring in Fournette in the 4th quarter, because they have confidence, the confidence they don't have in a Jones. That's what it comes down to. And I get that, but you're exactly right. If you're not giving Fournette the carries, then of course he's not going to be able to get started. We know that if you don't give the carries to Ronald Jones, he can't get started. But even with the 9 carries, 66 yards, over 100 yards from scrimmage with that big play, he has more explosive nature to him than Fournette. And that's why I say if he's your bell cow runner and you're being committed to balance on this offense, you have to get it to the victim of volume, and that would be Jones, in my opinion. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm to the point where I'm tired of, don't get me wrong, as long as Tom Brady's our quarterback, he's going to be my guy because I'm a Bucs fan to heart always. It'll never stop. But I'm tired of watching Tom Brady drop back for 40, 50 passes a game. That's not what he should be doing.
No, that's not what. And that was the problem with the offense last year.
Everybody knows his weakness.
Yep.
If you rattle Tom Brady in that pocket, it's going to be a very, very shaky game.
Yep. Exactly. And it doesn't make any sense for you to have Tom Brady throw the ball 30 or 40 times with the offensive lineman being injured? Does that make any sense? I mean, look, I get it. Donovan Smith played in that game, but he didn't practice all week long. And you get down to Kansas City, but basically you give up on your running game. We've seen this before. You have Ali Marpet out. He's your best offensive lineman. You're not trying to run the ball. What you're trying to do is pass the ball. Doesn't make any sense. Your line already struggles being fully healthy, but now you're asking your line to compensate for that when they already struggle with pass protection. So to me, it doesn't make any sense, and that's on coaching. I'm sorry, they've definitely been out coached. These teams have been.
You're 1,000% correct.
And I kind of wonder. I kind of wonder, and I
don't
want.
Let's switch over to the defense.
Okay.
And what I want people to understand is, a lot of problems with the Bucs defense is they've been playing a lot of zone.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but zone coverage is like these quarterbacks nowadays eat zone coverage up.
Oh, of course they do.
Because you have receivers and quarterbacks working on concepts to find the holes in the coverage.
Yeah.
And me and you talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Sure.
How much we miss Vita Vea. Now, don't get me wrong. The run defense is still great, but Vita gave you that push up the middle to break down that pocket to where you had Sue and JPP and Shaq Barrett, on the quarterback behind because that pressure up the middle was basically breaking down the pocket to where the quarterback had to either roll out to his left or roll out to his right. And when he had to do that, he would run right into one of our outside linebackers.
Exactly. And that's been probably the biggest injury that the Bucs have had out of this whole experience of this year. That was, look, the rushing, give credit to where credit is due. The rushing defense has done a good job to hold running backs under 100 yards. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's tough to block a guy that's 340, 360, double and triple team. If you double and triple team him, somebody has one-on-one. You're not getting that now. You're missing that penetration like you talked about. And a lot of Bucs fans considered it and said, Vita Vea being out, not a big time injury. It's a major injury because of what the Bucs do. And they do it in the middle there with the Sue and, of course, with the Vea. Especially with the Vea, not only with the run defense, but of course being a pass rusher, a very underrated pass rusher. And that's why you're not seeing the big time numbers. And then when your defensive line is not able to get enough consistent pass pressure on the quarterback, basically you're out there one-on-one, you're either running man-to-man or you're running zone. So guys are able to get open. It's just how it is at this point. This defense has fallen off just because of that factor. And then on top of it, you have corners like a Jamel Dean who was hurt. But before that, looking at the quarterback and not doing their job, not looking back at the ball. They're looking at the receiver, face guarding. You're going to pick up an interference all day long. That's not good technique. That's technique that has to be improved on. The looking in the backfield is just a killer because you look at the Giants game. The Giants could have had 3 touchdowns if you have a decent quarterback. We go back to that, and this is what's happening now. Offensive coordinators are starting to realize the tendencies of this defense. They're starting to pick up on Todd Bowles' blitzes, and then on top of it, with you not having a Vea in the middle, it's just a combination of just bad. Everything is bad right now, and it has to turn around. And hopefully this bye week will do that because you could see a very tired team.
And I want people to leave Carlton Davis alone. Listen, he's a better man-to-man than a zone coverage cornerback.
Right.
But, what I want people to understand is, you as a receiver, you have all your technique and skill and all of that. All of that is great. And the same thing as a cornerback. But the one thing anybody who's a sports fan knows, you can't teach speed.
No.
And Tyreek Hill was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. He is absolutely ridiculous.
And, Carlton Davis wasn't ready for that.
No, and I still think Carlton Davis is one of the top corners in the league. But again, you look at the matchup, he's not going to run with Tyreek Hill. You have to put a safety over the top, or unfortunately, you're going to have to run zone. And I think it goes back to what Leo Haggerty said at the beginning of the week in this matchup. What do you want to do? You want to die slow? You want to let them move the ball down the field, matriculate, I guess, the ball down the field, as the great Hank Stram would say. former Kansas City Chiefs coach, or do you want them to have big plays? And obviously, the Bucs didn't get the memo because there were plenty of big plays, and big plays will just kill you. They'll change the effect of the game. They'll change the impact and everything of it. The whole complexion of the game changes when you give up those big plays. So I would rather you make a Patrick Mahomes work. But at the end of the day, Kansas City is such an explosive offense. They may be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL right now, besides the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I still think, the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs will have to meet up in the playoffs, and you'll be able to see. Absolutely. But anytime you got the weapons that Kansas City has and a quarterback that's as good as him, he's going to make you pay. And if you make mistakes, Absolutely. That's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
Listen, not to quote Aaron Rodgers, but I want everybody as a Bucs fan just to relax, man, because it could be worse. It could be a whole lot worse.
Well, it definitely could be worse, but it could be better. And I believe that too. But we're not coaches either, because I mean we say these things, but things go separate ways, and I don't know. Yeah. But I just want everybody to know that there's things about this team that everybody has to look at. You know what I'm saying? Yep.
Like we said, Ali Marpet hurt it bad, and you could tell. Vita Vea hurt it bad. You could tell those injuries hurt us bad, and hopefully, with this bye week we can get some rest, and we could come out and hit the ground running.
I agree.
Literally hit the ground running.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And the starts that you had in the first quarter are not going to get it done. You continue to have slow starts versus teams, and teams are going to make you pay, and you're trying to dig out of a hole every game. That's going to basically take away that energy, and it's just not good. You can't do it against good teams. You may be able to do it next week versus the Minnesota Vikings because they're not a good team, but they're playing good football right now. So I don't even think you can get off to a bad start, but you have to come out. You have to get out to a great start. You can't get out to a slow start, and you have to see what happens. And hopefully this bye week will do that. And of course, a lot of people forget that, it didn't start out well with the wide receivers being both injured, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and then Scotty Miller, and then a combination of those guys. And then you have an injury to your running back. You have injuries to your running backs, and this and that and the other thing. So it doesn't help the injury situation. We knew it was going to be a challenge coming into everything in the offseason with COVID. Because of the soft tissue injuries, and we knew that the wide receivers had hamstring problems. So,
me and you talked about it in the offseason.
Yep.
We said the potential for this team is great, but injuries could derail this team.
So I would say you're happy with the 7-5 record. You're not like me. That's kind of disappointed.
I mean, I'm on the fence. Let me say that. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like we could have won that Kansas City game.
I agree.
I really did.
I agree.
With the better coaching, we should have won the Bears game. We should have won the Rams game. The only two losses we should have right now should be the same.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But you shoot yourself in the foot, and pre-snap penalties and all kinds of stuff that we've been talking about. Deep passes not being completed, no commitment to the running game, which means no commitment to balance, turning over the football. Tom Brady, that was his fault. Just not good. Just not a good combination of things, Curtis. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you. Good stuff.
I'm going to be calling you back later.
All right, man. Sounds good. Appreciate you, all right? Don't be a stranger. All right. Good stuff. We got Harry the Greek coming on here. Let's go ahead and read these comments, and then we'll get out to him. I'm interested to hear what he has to say about some of his picks. I took his advice on some of his picks, and I got some of his picks right. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so we should go 3-1 in the last 4. Minnesota isn't impressive. Detroit, is Detroit, and we should split with Atlanta. I can't remember the last time we swept them. This may be the year. And to me, I feel like you've got to run the table. Possibly lose one more game. If you lose 2, going to be questionable. Put up the video link. We'll just take phone calls. Mike, if you want to call in. Alstad, are you listening? Jimmy says, I had an opportunity to talk to Brady this week. He said to all Bucs fans, relax. He's calling the plays now, and he's never missed the playoffs. And once again, we are going all the way. He said, just believe in him. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's go out to Steve, and then we'll get out to Harry the Greek. Steve, welcome to the Evolution. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, what's going on, Peter? It's been a few weeks.
It has been too long, my friend. What do you have to say? You happy with this 7-5 Buccaneer team?
I am, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm disappointed because I expected a little more.
Okay. just like
And
me.
I see the injuries. I do. But at the same time, there's a few things I see, and I'm not a professional. You guys know more than I do. But the safeties the safeties are playing over the top.
Mm-hmm.
The middle is open right around it. Am I wrong?
Well, the safeties are playing over the top. You're exactly right. If your linebackers are not covering, again, there's a downside.
No. I'm talking about the offense. Like the offense is like the
Well, you would think so. You would
top.
think so. But if you're running 4 verticals all the time, and basically that means you're running 4 deep routes and there's nobody underneath, then the middle isn't open because you're going all deep. You don't have any routes going to the middle. But again, if you can't get the time to throw the ball, and we've talked about this too, if you're going 5 to 7 step drop and you don't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't matter what type of offense you're running. Your quarterback is getting hit, and even not getting sacked, just getting that pressure in his face is going to screw up his timing, is going to screw up his mental psyche, even if he is Tom Brady. That's the reason why it's so important to get pressure on quarterbacks. And that's what you can see right now with Brady. At points in the season, you've seen when pressure is getting in his face, he's hurrying up his timing. He's trying to throw the ball or trying to connect with somebody, and he's throwing an interception. Why? Because pressure is in his face. It's always been like that. It's always like that with any quarterback. And he's shown it this year with the pressure in his face, with 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The proof is in the pudding. You've got to protect your quarterback. You've got to. I don't care what quarterback you have to protect him. Does it help if he were more mobile? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you don't have a mobile quarterback. You have a 43-year-old quarterback who has a legacy that basically can never be challenged at this juncture, and you've got to protect him. This is what you have. And if you don't protect him, then these are the type of things that you're going to continue to see. You're going to continue to see him take hits that are unnecessary, and you're also going to see him possibly suffer an injury and also have the turnover situation. So you're exactly right. The middle would be open if you're throwing to the middle, but again, defenses are starting to catch on to it because they're a one-dimensional offense. If you go past play action and you try to go down the middle, and they did that in the Chiefs game, and they were somewhat successful. But you have to run the ball. You have to be committed to it in order to open up those short and intermediate shots down the field. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's all, though. I mean, I think we should be happy being 7-5.
Okay.
Compared to last year.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. That's it.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you, Steve. Appreciate you, buddy. Don't be a stranger, all right? All right, we'll read the rest of these comments. We'll get out to Harry the Greek. We'll make this work. We may have 2 or 3 people on at the same time. You know how we do here on the Sports Web live on Bucs Report. Again, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. All right, Mike says, drafting left tackle, please, to replace the pylon that is supposed to protect TB12. Carl says, if Vea had not got hurt, we probably would have a couple more wins right now. That guy is the heart of our D-line. Agree. If we lose to the Vikings, it's officially panic time. I agree with you on that. The Bears didn't beat us. Bucs beat themselves. Stupid penalties, lack of discipline. Agree. And Sean says, I feel we should have won the Bears, Rams, and Chiefs game if the players executed and didn't get out coached. So let me go out to Mr. Harry the Greek here. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing on this Friday night?
Absolutely fantastic, Peter. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know you're not a Bucs fan, but do you feel like Bucs fans should be disappointed in a 7-5 record, or is this where they should be with all the offseason turmoil with COVID and not having the necessary reps? And then all the injury situation? Should Bucs fans be satisfied with 7-5?
Well, first off, I have turned into a Bucs fan. It's not my primary team, but I'm a week-to-week guy. Everybody knows that I gamble.
I like it.
I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. This Tampa Bay team is the most talented team in the entire National Football League. Had they ran the ball a little bit more in a couple of those games, we could talk. We could be talking right now with a tied division between them and New Orleans. Am I happy with 7-5? Absolutely. It's going to take a miracle for this team not to make the playoffs. And I'm going to tell you right now, Peter, I've talked about it on a couple of other shows. There is no clear-cut favorite whatsoever in the NFC. I mean, Tampa Bay right now is plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. The LA Rams, who beat them 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, last week, my bad. No, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're plus 1,800. So try to figure that out for a minute. Okay. When I made the comment about me being a week-to-week guy, so is the NFL, so is the prognosticators, so are the people in Las Vegas, people that set the lines. The favorite to win the Super Bowl right now in the NFC are the New Orleans Saints, and they're only plus 800. Let me give you a little tidbit. New Orleans is going to have a little surprise coming up here in Atlanta. And I can give that pick either on this show, but I prefer to do it on tomorrow night's show with Cup of Ray. And for that being said, if they do trip up and Tampa wins the following week, those roles are now going to be reversed. The NFL, you and I both know what it stands for. But to answer your question, absolutely. I'm very satisfied with 7-5. We can always do better, but you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers should have lost the game to the Dallas Cowboys. Are the Dallas fans saying, hey, we should have one more win right now because we should have beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh? You recall that game?
Absolutely, I do. With Garrett Gilbert playing, the fourth-string quarterback there, coming from the AAF, absolutely. And I felt like Dallas, that was their best game of the year, the way they played. They played the Steelers tough. They ended up losing, of course. You're exactly right. I don't think Dallas Cowboy fans would be good.
But you can make that point for a lot of different games. You see, a lot of times in handicapping, Peter, you can't. You can watch all the game tape you want, and I watch 30 to 40 hours a week. I probably pick about 5 or 6 games out. I record them, and I try to break the game down. And we could do a masterful job. However, the only thing you can't handicap are injuries that happen during a game and bad officiating. And there's one more thing, unlucky breaks for that team. So if you have a slew of those, there's no way to account for it whatsoever. But 7-5, if you would have told me last year this team was going to be 7-5, I would have taken it. And I understand when they brought Brady in and, you stacked up with Antonio Brown and a couple of the other players, it's almost hard not to, be more excited than their current record. But Buck fans, calm down. They're not going anywhere. This team is going to make a deep push into the playoffs. Yes, I would be disappointed if they lost in the first round, but I don't see it happening. I really, really, truly don't.
Do you think there's some friction between Coach BA and Tom Brady? Is that what? Because I know you've got an inside guy. Have you heard anything to that at all?
They're being pretty tight-lipped about that right now with that organization. It's really, really hard to say. I still honestly feel that Bruce Arians is going to blame everybody else, his players, his coaching staff, before he actually goes down. Meaning he's not going to take any accountability for it. We see it week to week. It drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah.
He's one of the few NFL coaches that when you lose a ball game, that never accepts any responsibility. What did he say a couple of weeks ago, Peter? He was open. You remember that?
Right. I mean, I've never seen a coach throw Tom Brady underneath the bus so many times. I mean, it's amazing. And even there are some broadcasters that say, what are you getting out of throwing Tom Brady under the bus? What are you getting out of that? So you're exactly right. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with both of those guys, but all you hear is there could be some friction. And then you have Tony Romo coming out on the broadcast, and he's absolutely being critical of the Bucs offense. I mean, you take a look at this Bucs offense here. It's pretty easy to defend, right?
No, by no means. If they run the proper game plan, you've got to run the football. And I hate to use your term. What do you say about Ronald Jones? The victim of what?
The victim of volume. Very good.
Correct.
Very good.
Without question. I don't care who's running the football, Fournette or him. Give someone the football 25 times a game. If you do that, you are going to peel the top off the defense. But when defenses come in and they plan for Brady to throw the ball because they know the game plan is going to be 10-plus passes over 20 yards, all they got to do is sit in the zone.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of the flats at all.
Yeah.
But if and then again, they both have had some drop passes. I think Fournette and Jones have 4 drop passes, maybe a few more. I mean, they've got to do a better job. I can't defend poor play when you're wide open and the ball hits you right in the hand. I just cannot defend that. But you know what? Every team has those issues. The reason why it happens is because they're victims of volume, both of them.
Right. Because this team doesn't have the balance and they're not giving him the balance. Mike Greenberg on ESPN said he doesn't feel like Tom Brady really fits this offense, and the risk it, no biscuit has kind of been a failure at this point. Would you agree with him?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Would you like an explanation?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. Tom Brady can fit in any offense. He is not a mobile quarterback, nor has he ever been a mobile quarterback. And when you have quarterbacks that aren't that mobile, you run the football. You make packages for him. I don't care who you are, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Dan Marino. If you are counting every time you snap the ball, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden your eyes are closing because you know you're going to get clobbered on the blind side, and you do nothing about it, you have problems. But I don't personally believe that the Buccaneers are going to go these next 4 games with the same game plan offensively that they have been running this entire season. They know it's coming up in the wintertime. They know they're going to be on the road, and they better get the ground and pound game coming. Because you know what? They have the best wide receiver core in football, bar none. They've got 2 really good tight ends. They have a very serviceable offensive line. Once that gets healthy, watch out. We haven't talked about the defense, and I hope we can touch on that a little bit. But this offense is something to be reckoned with if they just ran the football.
And we're on with Harry the Greek here on the evolution of sports talk television, the sports web, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Always enjoy his commentary. And he comes out there, we're sitting down, and he's trying to talk to me, and he doesn't understand how focused I am on that game, especially defensively, to see what the Bucs are really doing. I try not to ignore you or be rude. It's just like, it's maddening because I'm watching the defense and I'm seeing things that I saw last year, and namely, those are blown coverages. Why does this continue to happen? And do you think there's going to be an adjustment after this bye week? Can Todd Bowles basically rectify this ship?
Great question. I'm a lot more confident that they're going to fix the offensive game plan and play calling than I am on the defensive side of the football. I don't know why. Todd Bowles is just as stubborn, in my opinion, as Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, or whoever's calling the plays, okay? On the defensive side of the ball, we've had debates on other shows, and I think I've even talked to you about it. They play way too much zone. But you know what they even do a lot more than play in zone, Peter? They blitz more than anybody in football.
Yes.
And they don't need to. I understand you're missing Vita Vea, okay? I understand you're taking up those 2 plugs, but every time you blitz with 1 and 2 people, you are leaving the middle of the field wide open behind you, okay? Force teams, it's fine to play zone, but you can also play man zone. You've got to get some pressure onto the receivers. Both those games against the New Orleans Saints, I broke that game tape down. From the 20 to the 20, they allowed all those yards. And I don't have an issue with that. I don't care if your quarterback, the opposing offense, has 500 yards passing in the first half. If you only give up 14 to 17 points, like they did against the Kansas City Chiefs, as long as you're not bending from the 20 in, and I'm going to make the point here for you. When opposing offenses are facing a Buccaneer defense, they allow those yards between the 20 and the 20. And all of a sudden, you start to see a lot more pressure. And people say it's because this field got shorter. BS. Okay? It's effective. You've got to knock receivers off their timing. Drew Brees had a field day the entire game. We made him look like the greatest quarterback in the entire National Football League for all time. It's like he couldn't miss a pass. He dropped back, he threw to a spot, and he was taking whatever the Buccaneer defense was giving him. That's predictable. Teams like the Buccaneers with that front 4, or let's say their front 7, They're probably one of the best front sevens in all of football. You don't need to blitz that much. You are going to get adequate pressure under the quarterback. Give the people behind you a little bit of help with more coverage. If you want to play zone, don't keep dropping people back. And for God's sakes, I understand that JPP has 2 interceptions in consecutive games. You got to stop dropping him into coverage. He cannot cover running backs.
No.
Okay?
The mismatch nightmare, Harry. That's exactly what offensive coordinators want. They want those outside linebackers like a JPP and a Shaq Barrett to cover a running back or even a tight end at that point. That is a mismatch nightmare, and I don't understand why we see more of this year. Maybe we weren't paying attention last year, but I almost feel like Todd Bowles has tried to do some different things, and it's really not worked out. Even the Rams game, he was backing up defensive tackles to try to zone up some of these wide receivers, and they were there, but they were late. There's a reason why they're defensive tackles. They're not that fast, and they're not good on coverage. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Do you remember the 2 interceptions that JPP had?
Yes.
Okay. Would you believe me if I told you they never blitzed on those plays and they dropped them in the coverage? That's when you're supposed to blitz. If you're going to run misdirection on the defense rather than the offense, now you got to really plug them up the middle because you do have that mismatch. This is what I'm not getting with Todd Bowles. That's why I'm not as confident with this defense. They have a young secondary that if he continues to run this kind of defense, he's going to ruin these corners that they have. And you know what? At this point, they're very good, but they need help. And they're going to get help if they continually play a basic defense. They don't have to get too creative, even against Kansas City. I like the game plan that they had. For Christ's sakes, they held Kansas City to 10 points in the second half? That's Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
You held him to 10 points. Let's go back to the Ram game. And the pregame show, we were all having a debate to the keys to the game. And I think you recall when everybody disagreed with me and I said, I wanted Tampa to come out slinging the football. You remember that, Peter, correct?
Absolutely, I do. Of course. Yes.
And I said, I don't want them doing it the whole game. All I wanted them to do was to get up 7 to 10 points on the Rams. Because once you take the running game out of the equation by getting ahead of them, that would have forced Jared Goff to pass the football. At that point, the defense knew that they had to pass the ball, and they still couldn't stop them because they were playing that stupid type of formation on their defense with that zone. Yeah. That's the only reason why. You needed to pin your ears back, get up on the line of scrimmage, and have your safety help behind them. Nothing's going to get behind them. But they never did it. And they let Cooper Kupp get like 100 catches for an absurd amount of yards for no reason whatsoever because they had that philosophy.
Yeah, but both of those wide receivers go off that night in the Woods and a Kupp. Let's go out to the webheads, read some of these comments. We'll get back to you, Harry. I remember when Brad Johnson came in, he said we have to throw the ball on first down. It worked out well. Melissa says, I have a question for the handsome Harry the Greek. Who do you like in the Bears game? I think, yes.
I lost your audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Peter, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let me log off and come back and give me 1 minute. I'm sorry. 1 minute.
Okay. All right. No problem. No problem at all. Go ahead and do that. We'll get you back in here. We'll read that comment again when he comes back in. Sometimes that happens. Mike D. Roche says, hey, Harry. And Josh Rosen says, Mike, on the quarterback situation. Want to read this comment from Kyle. Considering what we were last season, say 7-5 ain't terrible. Would love to see more running of the football. And, of course, better play on defense here. Let's see here. We keep on reading these comments. My vision is so bad at this point. I need to get probably new contacts. Let's see more running in the football, better play on defense. The roster is definitely better than the recent. The D-line has also seemed to have more issues getting to the quarterback as of late. I still think we finish strong and make the playoffs, and depending how the Saints finish, we still have a chance of taking the division. They have a lot of answers that need to be found on the bye week. Arians and Brady need to do better working together and not battling each other. And Shane Young says, Tampa Bay is going to the Super Bowl, first to host and play, history made. That's what I agree with on that. I absolutely agree with that. We've got the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, tuning in here which is great. Let's see here. Khalif says, I think we go 2-2 in December. I don't trust the coaching. If they go 2-2, Harry, if they go 2-2 in December, it could be a very, very, it not only could be a disappointing season in general if you go 2-2, but on top of that, there could be some changes made, not only to this coaching staff, but some players basically out of here, right?
4-0.
I agree.
I'm going to repeat 4-0. And they're not even going to have to go 4-0. There is no way that they're going to hiccup against the Atlanta Falcons. You heard it here. It's not going to happen. There will not be a letdown with the Falcons. If they're going to have a letdown, it's going to be with one of those sorry NFC North teams. No pun intended. Minnesota is not very good, guys.
No.
They are not very, very, very good. Trust me when I tell you I know this NFC North better literally than anybody. Detroit could sneak up on them because they play a very similar type of offense, and they can try to get into a shootout with Matthew Stafford, but he's been dinged up. I do not see this team losing another game in the regular season.
I agree with you. I think they can run the table. I just think they have to correct some things, and of course it goes back to balance. It goes back to not making mistakes. I mean, Tom Brady throwing 2 interceptions in that game. A lot of people are saying, well, it's just like last year, but the difference is Brady has 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions compared to Winston, who had 30. Let's go back to this question from the lovely Melissa. I have a question for the handsome Harry the Greek. Who do you like in the Bears game? Who do you like in the Bears game there, Harry the Greek?
You know what? I haven't done all the tape work on it. That's a great question. Maserati Mitch himself. And yeah, that's his new nickname I gave him, Maserati Mitch. I believe he has 18 in his career against the Lions. If they could just play the Lions every week, they'd win the Super Bowl. Mitch Trubisky, I believe, has 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 5-1 record against them. Matthew Stafford is pretty banged up right now. I'm not sure if their star running back from Georgia is going to be playing. I believe he is. Defensively, the team's in shambles. But there's one key to this game. This player's name is Akeem Hicks. Akeem Hicks plays in the defensive line. He's as vital to Chicago's defense as Vita Vea. And the best player on Chicago's defense is not Khalil Mack. It's Akeem Hicks. Khalil Mack gets all the sexy calls because he rushes the quarterback. But the reason why he gets there is because of Akeem Hicks. And Akeem Hicks hasn't practiced this week. I don't normally give out picks on anybody else's show except for the one on Cup of Ray, which is going to be tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. But Melissa, since you were so complimenting, if Akeem Hicks is playing, mortgage your house. They're only -3. They are going to beat the brakes off this team. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Bears fan and I never bet with my heart. But do not bet that game unless you know Akeem Hicks is playing in this game.
All right, good stuff there. So Harry the Greek with his pick there. Of course, he's going to make his picks. I was going to ask you about some games.
Sure, I give you.
All right, Washington and Pittsburgh. It's easy for me, but could we see the Steelers trip up on Monday night versus the Washington Redskins, or are the Steelers going to stay undefeated, in your opinion?
I think the Steelers are going to hiccup. I mean, again, that's another overrated team in the AFC. Last night on Rick's Hughes show, we were talking about my top 5 teams in the AFC, and a lot of people have a tendency of disagreeing with me. It's probably a 70-80% chance that Pittsburgh is going to beat them. I think Washington's going to cover the spread, in my opinion. I think they're getting quite a few points in this game. But don't get too down on this Washington Redskins team. They have 5 number 1 draft picks on this defensive line. Mm-hmm. That could be arguably the best defensive line in football right now. They stop the pass. They will get to Ben Roethlisberger without blitzing 75% of the time, Peter. Okay? And they do a decent job at stopping the run. The Achilles heel, I'm not too sure. I'm a little wishy-washy with Alex Smith. If they can play a balanced game and run the football and keep Big Ben on the bench, look for a big game by Washington and Pittsburgh, possibly to get a hiccup in this game.
All right, my friend. Good stuff. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to let you do those picks at this point on Tampa Bay Rays show, Cup of Ray tomorrow night.
We're going to be poolside.
I know. I hear this. I got to get out there one of these nights and come out there maybe on a Saturday night. who knows? Maybe I'll make my way out there. I know you keep on trying to get me to call in, so I may have to call in tomorrow night and get some of those picks from you. But give me your final thoughts on this, some of these picks this week or the Bucs in general. What do you say?
Before we do that, everybody might want to tune into that because Ray made a promise last week that if he had 75 comments on our show, he was going to do a cannonball in the pool. And he never kept his word. But trust me, Harry the Greek, you can lay 1-9 odds. He's jumping in that pool tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I definitely want to see it. Harry the Greek, thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, powered by 320solar.com. Don't be a stranger. Always welcome on the Sports Web. All right, boss?
You are the man, Peter. Keep it up. You're great. You're wonderful. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Remember, keep your bets low and make your returns really good high.
I'm telling you right now, I'm taking this guy's advice because I want to win some money for Christmas. Christmas is only a couple weeks away, so I got to get with you. I'll get with you off air, all right?
Oh, by the way, for some of your viewers that didn't know, I'm running over 87% against the spread this year.
80?
And last week, wait a minute, and last week, I went 7 out of 8 against the spread.
We need to get a betting show on the Bucs Report. We really do. We need to get you on here more and more. I appreciate you, buddy. All right, there you go.
Love.
Yep,
We'll see you, brother.
Absolutely. See you out the watch party. Wings on you, right?
All the time. I love bringing the wings and the beer or whatever. I don't drink, but I do like to put on a good show.
Hey, man, I don't drink either, so plenty of root beers and Sprites to go around, all right?
Amen. Have a great night, and thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. There you go. Harry the Greek on with us on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go out to one of our newest members here, a part of the Bucs family. We interviewed him, talked to him the other night. Let's go out to Mr. Chuck Fonchell. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing on this Friday night?
Peter Blake, it's been a beautiful week, man. I'm enjoying the confidence that my team cannot lose this Sunday, and that just makes me feel real good inside. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm just going to call this guy the Ian Rappaport of Bucs Report because the guy sounds like Ian Rappaport. I don't care what you say, and the dude looks like him too. It's kind of scary. I feel like I'm talking to Ian Rappaport here on the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. Got to read some of these comments or from the webheads really quick, and then I got out to I read a story today that I wanted to talk about. Let's go out to Connie. Josh Rosen broke Harry's Wi-Fi. Carl says 4-0, totally agree, coming into the playoffs hot. And Jimmy says everyone talking about Atlanta and what they did to the Raiders, but that was off of turnovers. 4-0, says Harry the Greek. You agree with that?
I mean, look, this Buccaneer team can go 4-0. They should go 4-0. He brought up some perfectly justifiable things about the Bucs coming opponents. The Vikings are a vulnerable team. They really can't. Surprisingly, for the first time in a while, they can't stop anybody. There are 3 guys on defense. There's only 3 guys making plays on that whole team. They got their safety. They got 2 linebackers making plays over there. You're talking about Harrison Smith, you're talking about Eric Kendricks, you're talking about Eric Wilson. And other than those 3 guys, nobody's making plays on their defense. Yannick Ngakwe's got about 5 sacks from the defensive line. Nobody's getting many hits on the quarterback. So that should be a team that the Buccaneer offense should be able to make plays on. Obviously, that whole offense runs through Dalvin Cook. The Buccaneers shut down the run very well. So you win that game. You got 2 against Atlanta. Atlanta, they can throw the football. Matt Ryan, he hasn't forgotten how to do it. They've forgotten how to pass protect a little bit. Julio Jones, he's not 25 anymore, so he's slowing down from injury. Look, they're supposed to go 4-0, but until we figure out a scheme that works, and I do disagree with your last guest on the quality of the Bucs front 7. I think there's some talent there, but he's talking about how the Bucs don't need a blitz. They're not getting any pressure with 4 guys. So, I'm going to beg to differ. I hope they can figure out they need to play Will Golston more. Will Golston is leading this team on quarterback hits. He's got 17 quarterback hits. through 12 games. Nobody else on the team has more than 13. That's Ndamukong Suh. And then their outside rushers and JPP and Shaq Barrett, they've got 11 and 10 respectively. So, if you need inside push, let's turn a little bit more to William Golston, see if he can get it done alongside Ndamukong Suh and take care of business. Yes, they can go 4-0. They should go 4-0. Will they? I don't know. As Terrell Owens said, get your popcorn ready.
I'm telling you, get your popcorn ready, Chuck, because it's do or die. They have to, for them to go into the playoffs, I don't even think they can lose one game. I think they have to win all 4. I think the attitude of this team will definitely improve. We always talk about it with the issues on offense and defense. What solves that? Winning solves that. If you go in as one of the hottest teams in the NFL, you never know what happens. We've seen it before with the Pittsburgh Steelers one year. They catch the Cincinnati Bengals in a wild card game. They're on the road for the duration of the playoffs. They win 3 straight. They go to the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. We've seen it before. Can that happen with the Bucs? If they get hot at the right time, absolutely. With all the offensive weapons, now on the bye week, getting everybody healthy at the same time, you feel like they're going to be able to do that. And hopefully the meeting of minds between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians to how to run. Because I take a comment from what Patrick Mahomes said or what Brady said about Patrick Mahomes and that offense in Kansas City in general as a team. They basically have their offense shaped around their defense. They know exactly how to run that offense to where it helps the defense out. You kind of wish that the Bucs would kind of do the same thing, right?
I mean, early in the season, it was really complimentary football because on the first drive of the game, they were running these scripted plays and they were converting their early third downs. That's kind of dried up against some better defenses recently, and you're starting to see the defense get exposed where they don't have time on the sideline to make early adjustments. And in the second half, you've seen some better defensive play from the Bucs because now they have time to get with their coaches and get with their players and scheme things up a little bit differently. Look, they're not far off. I mean, even in these 2 losses, a couple of consecutive 27-24 losses against a couple of teams that could very well be number 1 seeds in their conference. I know the Saints are already in that position. The Chiefs are a game back of the Steelers. Our Greek friend was talking about maybe the Steelers stumble at some point, but the Chiefs and the Saints, they're incredible teams. You talk about the Rams, they're at the top of their division or near the top of their division, and they could very well win it. They've got an elite defense and an offense that, you're talking about a Sean. I don't know, you're talking about a head coach in Sean McVay. Thank you. Sean McVay that knows how to scheme it. Jared Goff, when he's not pressured, is an elite quarterback. They've got some great pass catching weapons. So against elite competition, the Bucs are coming up just a little bit short, and we're talking about, they did this wrong, they did that wrong. Get one of those things right, and we're probably talking about a better record than 7-5. So you talk about the Bucs having to go 11-5. I'd like them to go 11-5. I'll feel a lot better about it. I think that's how you clinch that 5 seed. But I think the Bucs can actually lose a game and still make it. You're looking at a 5-6 Vikings team. They will lose another game. You look at the Bears. They'll probably lose 2 more games. You look at the rest of their schedule. The 49ers, they've played okay through injuries to be at 5-6. They will lose another game. I think 10-6 pretty safely gets you into the playoffs, but you need help from other teams. And I don't like being a charity case. So I definitely would rather see the Bucs go 11-5, and I think they can do it.
All right, we're on with our Ian Rappaport here on the Sports Web, Mr. Chuck Von Schell on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Bucky Brooks. He says the Buccaneers have buyer remorse for Tom Brady, and he says, I hope Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kept the receipts on the Tom Brady purchase, seeing how the head coach appears to have a bit of buyer's remorse and he said this on NFL.com. Arians' critical comments on his offense recent struggles reveal a lot about how he views the 43-year-old quarterback's play. Do you agree with that? Do you think that there is some buyer's remorse from the Bucs on Brady, and the reason why is because of the comments from Bruce Arians lately about the struggles of this offense?
There's a term called clickbait And I think you read about a paragraph's worth of clickbait. Bruce Arians loves Tom Brady. This whole team loves Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the reason that we are 7-5 and not 4-8 right now. He is having one of the best first seasons in a Bruce Arians offense in the coach's history. He is among the league leaders in all the important statistical categories. He is accountable to his mistakes. And Arians is a guy that holds his players accountable as well. When Bruce Arians makes negative comments, it's because players made negative plays. Tom Brady played 20 years under Bill Belichick. If you think that he was all sunshine and marshmallows behind closed doors, I've got some beachfront property in Oregon, or no, there is beachfront property in Oregon, in Nebraska that I'd like to talk to you about. There you go. Rappaport's better with his geography. That's why I fall short of Rappaport. But no, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are going to be just fine. This is the first year they're just getting started. There were no OTAs. There was a truncated offseason. They had no preseason games. Not like Brady would have played a lot of preseason football, but they haven't even had a bye week yet to talk things over and kind of scheme a little bit. Every single week, it's been, okay, take a couple of days, and now we'll start pre-gaming or game planning for our next opponent. This is the first time they've really gotten the chance to just say, okay, let's relax for a little bit, look back on what's worked, what hasn't worked, what works well when we do it, and how do we do more of that and less of what doesn't work. The first season is not yet complete. We're already in playoff position, and now we get the sweet, soft underbelly, the fatty edges of the ribeye steak to finally nibble on of this schedule. And I, for one, as a Bucs fan, am very excited to watch that. And I hope that these other Bucs fans are. Don't get down on your team. Don't believe what the national talking heads are saying. They write these articles. They say these things to get your viewership, to help sell whatever their advertisers want them to sell you. Don't buy into it. This is a good football team. They've had some frustrating losses, but you have got the greatest NFL quarterback that's ever suited up. Is he the most talented? No. Patrick Mahomes is probably more talented. He's objectively more talented. But as far as legacy, about what they've done on the football field, nobody can match Tom Brady's career. What's what I'm looking for? The totality of what he's done. And I want you to think back every time you've ever read an article or watched a talking head talk about how this is now, you can tell Tom Brady is truly done. What has he done the rest of that season? He's taken his team to the damn Super Bowl.
Yes.
Relax. Aaron Rodgers, R-E-L-A-X, relax.
Relax. He also says, given those struggles, Tampa Bay would be wise to feature a short to intermediate passing game to maximize Brady's talents as a rhythm thrower. He says TB12 remains one of the NFL's best passers to intermediate range, 10 to 19 air yards, boasting a 66.7% completion rate, second in the league, 11.2 yards per an attempt, eighth, and 9 touchdowns tied for second, and a 123.1 passer rating, which is third in the NFL on the short to intermediate. So I guess with that being said, it does make sense with changing your offense up. I don't think Bruce Arians is disappointed, but I do think that this was kind of what we talked about in the offseason, the clashing of philosophies. Could Brady work in this offense? Because, like you said, a lot of talking heads said that he was on a decline. He didn't necessarily have the arm. What we've seen is he has the arm. It's just not as accurate with the deep pass. So would you expect coming out of the bye week that they would kind of make these changes to throw more intermediate instead of so much deep?
Not really. Let's take, for example, the Chiefs game. A lot of those short third down conversions that the team failed on early in the game, we're talking about 3rd and 6, 3rd and 2, etc. There were some short passes being attempted. Unfortunately, the pressure was coming in so hot that a lot of these passes came in faster or hotter than the receivers were anticipating. You're seeing Cam Brate, the ball goes right through his hands, but he's just putting his hands up as the ball is arriving. You see Chris Godwin struggle to get a single hand on it. These are short, under 10-yard passes that are being attempted on critical downs, and they're just not being completed because of the speed at which the pressure is arriving. thing. Tom Brady, what he doesn't talk about in that article is the fact that, Tom Brady had a bad stretch of a few games where he went about 0 for 20 on deep passes. Before that, he was among the league leaders in efficiency on deep passing, about 40, 45% completion percentage, maybe 38%, low turnovers, high touchdown, high yardage per attempt. And then he hit us a dry spell. I think beginning really with the Giants game, you saw them just decide, look, we're going to put two guys back and make sure that they can't get these chunk plays. The Buccaneers, I think, failed to adjust. Now, that might have a lot to do with the guy who's actually running the snaps. Now, Tom Brady is still getting on the same page. He's still developing chemistry with his receivers. Mike Evans has been on a bad ankle most of the season, so he's not been full strength. It's tough for them to feature him the way they want to when he's basically hobbling around on one leg. He's a 230-pound receiver. That takes a little bit off of his edge. He's had Chris Godwin miss 4 or 5 games between finger injury, hamstring injury, concussion. Scotty Miller has been on a bad groin all season. So the chemistry has not been at 100% with any of these receivers. You and I could spend 5 hours over at Berkeley Prep and we'd still trying to be figuring out when we got on a football field exactly what the other one is thinking. This is not New England where he's had consecutive seasons in 4 and 5 years with the same receiving core. So coming out of the bye week, I would say that you will still see a variety of route trees, a variety of different play schemes being called, and you will continue to see attempts on shot plays. You're going to continue to see him sling it downfield to Antonio Brown, to Mike Evans, to Chris Godwin, to Scotty Miller, to Rob Gronkowski. Hopefully, we'll keep Cam Brate for some shorter stuff, and absolutely, as we've discussed before, no out routes to Justin Watson. So, we'll be okay.
I agree with that. We're on with our newest member of Bucs Report, our Ian Rappaport. I'm just going to say it. That's his new nickname here, Mr. Ian Rappaport, Mr. Chuck Von Schell on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. He also goes on to say this would be Bucky Brooks, who works for NFL Network, NFL.com, of course, former scout. He says Brady has 8 touchdowns to 9 interceptions and the Bucs 5 losses compared to 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in Tampa Bay's 7 victories. The Bucs quarterback also has a 68% completion rate in those 7 wins, much higher than those defeats. Of course, you throw more interceptions, but again, it doesn't just come down to Brady, and I understand where he's going because basically in this article, he's saying not only Bruce is upset, the Bucs have buyer's remorse, but there should be more blame on Tom Brady than the coaching. Do you agree with that? Or do you think it should be equal? Or should it be the fact of the coaches putting Brady in those situations to where he can succeed?
I think it's an all of the above. It's option E. Yes, Coach Arians, he obviously has his entire career had a aggressive downfield passing offense. And he knew going into this that Tom Brady was capable of thriving in that offense. Now, is this as well staffed or coached an offensive line as he's had in New England? That is, it's hard to say with a hard affirmative yes. We've got Donovan Smith, who is incredibly inconsistent. You've got Alex Kappa, who, we're talking about like a Division III third-round offensive tackle turned offensive guard. You've got a rookie right tackle who's played very well in Tristan Wirfs. You missed Ali Marpet for a few games, and Ryan Jensen has been very good at center, but this offensive line as a whole has had lapses against elite competition. And you've had a quarterback that I believe first year in this offense has had times where he's failed to diagnose some defenses. Maybe Byron Leftwich has been a little bit predictable with his play calling. Early on in the season, I would always get very frustrated by continuous first-round runs that weren't getting anywhere. We're constantly in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, and now you're predictable on your play calling going forward. The 2 Saints games, that's 5 interceptions right there. He talks about 8 and 9. He had a couple bad interceptions against the Rams. Yes, the Chiefs, one of those was a deflected pass. He had a deflected pass turn into an interception against the Saints as well. interceptions will happen. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in his Super Bowl win last year. We don't like them. They're not fun. They can potentially lose you a football game, but we've got to stop pretending like it's not. It doesn't come with the territory when you're throwing the ball downfield. We all want to have Patrick Mahomes on our side. We don't. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. We've got Tom Brady. He's really good at throwing the football, and he's going to continue to be really good at throwing the football. Sometimes you're just going to lose tough games. I'm glad that we've won 7 of our early 12 here. I wouldn't expect to see the offense change too much. And as far as blame goes, yes, there's blame to go around. But I think there's also blame to go around for our wins. The same people that you're going to blame for the losses, you have to give credit for the wins, because when this team has faced lesser competition, they've dominated them. That's the first thing you have to do to be a good football team. Now, we did shellac a good football team in Green Bay. We took a team that beat the Chiefs and we beat them in the Raiders. We've got a team that's had some high quality wins, even though they haven't won a ton, with a first year head coach in the Panthers, and we've beaten them pretty soundly twice now. We've got an opportunity to run the table going forward and hopefully turn a lot of these Buccaneer fans' frowns upside down, and I believe they're going to.
I agree. Good stuff, Chuck. Let me go out to the webheads here, read some of these comments, and then we'll get you out of here. We got Juan Agadello of the Top Bucs podcast coming up here. Okay, so we read that. We need Seahawks to lose and the Saints. Jimmy says next season primetime games, Bucs at New England Sunday night. And William says, I like to see Brown released. We haven't been the same since we signed him. Offense has gone into a funk with Brown in the lineup. Miller was more productive than Brown, and now he has disappeared. Do you agree with that assessment by William? Release Brown. Brown has been the change of why this offense has not necessarily been able to put it all together because of his arrival, or is it the fact of the competition that you faced in the Saints and, of course, the Rams and the Chiefs?
I think at the end there that's got a lot more to do with it. Do I want Antonio Brown on the team? That's a different question. I'm not a big Antonio Brown fan. I think, and I've never met the man. It's easy to say that I wasn't there, on any of the incidents that we're talking about here. But where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and there's a whole lot of smoke around Antonio Brown. So I like to be able to cheer for people that I can watch with my wife, and I had to swallow real hard a few weeks ago. We were watching. It was a Sunday night game. It was against the Saints, and we had it on in our bedroom, and we had the sound on. And Al Michaels talks about Antonio Brown joining the Buccaneers, and he starts going down this list of the things that he is accused of. And I just watched her countenance completely change. And this is the first year where I've been able to have her be enthusiastic about watching Bucs games with me, and to see that through her eyes, at that point, it's kind of a gut check moment. Now, from an on the field standpoint, I understand why he was brought in. You look at the injuries, the litany of injuries that this team has faced, and they wanted an insurance policy. And as a football player, he's a hell of an insurance policy. You can see what ability he still brings to this team. When he runs routes, they're typically effective. When the ball gets to his hands, he typically makes the catch no matter the difficulty level. You see balls arriving at the same time as defenders, he catches that football. You see his fight after the catch. You see the passion that he brings. So I understand why Bruce Arians, Jason Light, Tom Brady, I understand why they would want him in the building. With regards to how the offense has performed with him on the field, this is, again, we've talked ad nauseum about the chemistry that Tom Brady's still trying to build with Chris Godwin, with Mike Evans in their first season. Antonio Brown's been in the building for about a month. So it's not going to be as effective. There's still going to be questions about, look at the early third down conversion where they tried to hit him on a swing on kind of a wheel route coming out of the backfield. The pressure got there too fast, so Tom Brady was waiting for him to turn around. He didn't. He took it upfield. Play goes incomplete. We have to punt because he doesn't understand his responsibility as the hot route coming out of the backfield there. That's just stuff that comes with time. But when you look at the competition that we faced a Saints team that was ready to punch the Bucs in the mouth. We faced a Raiders team that was not a Raiders team, a Rams, all the R's. I'm getting all mixed up in my Madden here. But, the Rams, that was a defense that was ready to shut down what the Buccaneers were trying to do. And then against the Chiefs, and that's arguably the best team in football. I believe they're right up there with the Steelers, and head-to-head, they might win. We're going to have to wait until January. Against the Panthers, he was featured, and that was a very good result. You started to see Tom Brady being able to mix the football around through all of his incredible arsenal of weapons. And I think you're going to see more of that going forward. Is he here next year? I doubt it. I hope that he's able to keep his nose clean enough to help this team down the stretch, because I do believe we're going to need him. And there's still a role for Scotty Miller on this team. Don't lose hope on Scotty Miller. He is going to help the Bucs win football games down the stretch. This is only his second year. He's under contract for at least 2 more seasons. There is more Scotty Miller to come, and his best football is absolutely ahead of him.
Good stuff, Mr. Chuck Von Schell here, the newest member of Bucs Report, our Ian Rappaport, of course, a part of the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. Thanks a lot for your time, boss, all right?
Peter Blake, have a great weekend, and go Bucs.
There you go. Good stuff. Mr. Chuck Von Schell on with us here. Let's go out to Juan Agadello of the Tough Bucs podcast. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, buddy. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you.
What's up, Peter?
Always good to have you here on the Sports Web. What do you think about this Bucs team being 7-5? Are you disappointed, or are you happy with those results this year?
There were some games there that we should have won. The Bears game obviously comes out to mind, but the other losses that we've had, those are some elite teams that we played. So I'm not too disappointed. Obviously, we want the team to win, but, like I said at the beginning of the year, I think this is a 10-6 team, and it looks like it's going to be that way when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, look, they definitely got the opportunity to run the table. They got one of their easy schedules. Chuck said it best. He was making me hungry. That's the fat on that ribeye. The fat is the juicy part, but it's also the worst part for you. But it certainly seems like this is going to be an easy part of their schedule, you would think, with the Vikings and, of course, the Falcons twice, and then having the Detroit Lions, who couldn't score, versus the Carolina Panthers. So in your opinion, will the Bucs go and run that table 4-0, or, like you said, could lose one game and go 10-6?
I'd like to see them go 4-0, but the reality is I think they'll lose one to the Atlanta Falcons. It's a division game. They always play us tough. So I'm going to say they go 3-1 against the Minnesota Vikings. I think their style of offense plays into our style of defense, obviously with us being the top run defense in the league. But I think that's going to be a W. We'll probably split the series between Atlanta and with the Detroit Lions. We'll see. I think that team's just all over the place right now. They just fired their coach, Matt Patricia, and who knows if Matt Stafford is going to play. I know right now he's dealing with a thumb injury, so we'll see then. But I think I want to say 4-0, but my heart and my brain says 3-1.
And of course, I'm going to say 4-0 because at the beginning of the season, I picked them to be 13-3, and I'm disappointed with the way they played, because they could have won some of these games. And I think that's the hard thing with some Bucs fans, reading the comments before I put out the post on Facebook. And I was kind of surprised, because there were probably more people that said, no, I'm not really disappointed. This is what I expected. And I guess you have to expect it because of the 400 missed reps in the offseason, because of the training camp missed in the preseason. That meant a lot more. And now when we go to next year, hopefully there's no COVID going on, but who knows at this juncture. When you go to next year, you're going to be taking that preseason and that training camp. You're not going to be taking it for granted, right?
Then you just add on to the chemistry, you know. That's why the Saints have the upper hand against us, because they have chemistry, they have that synergy between their team. And another year under our belt, we're gonna be an improved team, an improved offense. I think it's very sexy to hear Tom Brady coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you automatically think, hey, we're Super Bowl contenders. But the reality is that Rome wasn't built in one day. It takes time to get the pieces together. We're lucky enough to have a team, a team full of playmakers that Tom Brady has to choose or pick from. But I think, in all honesty, and I might not be liked for this, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans need to kind of chill out with their expectations. Like I said earlier in the year, I'd be happy if we make it to the playoffs. We haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years. So it looks like we're going to make it. I'd be even ecstatic if we win one game, and if we could make it to the NFC Championship and play the Saints and get a little redemption, and if we could pull off the win, hey, I'm all for it. But the way I live my life is expect the worst, because when the worst happens, you're not disappointed.
Good advice there, Juan Agadello of the Top Bucs podcast. Really quick, tell everybody about your podcast, where they can find it, what it's all about if they haven't seen it before.
So you can check me out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, using the handle @ToughBucs.
All right. I like it. I like it a lot. And of course, he does this a lot. He fires those cannons, and we're going to definitely do that on this show when they have a good comment. And I put out a PSA. I blame myself for the high expectations. Kind of got the Bucs fans all excited, and now we're here.
It's all good. You're not the only one.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. But, I put it out there just in case somebody would come after me. And I know there are going to be trolls out there, because we have plenty of trolls here on the sports web. And when we get a troll, this is what we do to them. That's
hey, when you're hot, that's what's going to happen,
Yep.
And we're hot right now. So there's going to be a lot of haters out there right now.
I agree. Now, speaking of hate, there's been a lot of fans that have kind of mentioned this point. William Romer mentioned it just now. Do you think Antonio Brown has really messed up this offense? And is it a chemistry issue in this locker room now? Ever since Brown has come to this Bucs team, they kind of look a little bit different on offense. Do you think he's caused that? Or do you think we're kind of looking too much into that with the competition that the Bucs have played in the Saints, the Rams, and of course the Chiefs?
I think the only real effect that's happened since he's been there is Scotty Miller. Scooter hasn't been really involved as much as he used to be earlier in the season. Outside of that, you can't really put all the blame on Antonio Brown. I mean, it's going to take. He's only been here 4 weeks. It's going to take him time to develop and learn the new system, learn the new offense. And at the end of the day, it's on Tom Brady and it's on the coaching staff to put a game plan that gets the team to a winning position. And I'm not going to blame Antonio Brown for the losing woes. I mean, the competition has been real stiff. I mean, the Saints, Rams, Chiefs, those are playoff teams. And at the end of the day, these games we want to win because we want to prove to the NFL that, like, listen, we're for real. I mean, the only other game that really sticks out for me is the Green Bay Packers game, and that really kind of solidified and put a stamp that the Buccaneers are for real. But since then, it's been pretty sloppy in terms of against the better competition.
Yeah, and also it's a slow start. So William brings it up, and we've mentioned it, where they're outscored. They're scoring one touchdown. I think it's like 49-7 in the first quarter. I mean, can you make any sense of this? I mean, why does it seem like this team comes out flat and not prepared? That's definitely on coaching, right, Juan?
Yeah, it could be on the play calling. It could be on the game plan. Honestly, that's really is what is hurting this team, especially on the defensive side, because when we have a good start into these games earlier in the season, we were able to have some good defensive stands. And the defense has been playing well, but like the slow starts have not been doing the defense any service, because they seem like they're falling behind early in the game, and it's it's part execution and it's part coaching.
What did you think of the Kansas City game, especially the game plan to single cover Tyreek Hill and for him to go off for 3 touchdowns, including a 75-yarder and then a 44-yarder where he's flipping in the end zone? Why does it take so long? And I keep on asking everybody this, and I want to get some type of answer from you. Why does it take so long for this defense to make adjustments? I mean, they come back in the second half, shut down that high potent offense, but they're not able to do it in the first half. And they think the best game plan is to have Carlton Davis, who's, look, he's considered one of the top corners, but he's fast by no means, on a Tyreek Hill who's going to absolutely outrun you any day of the week.
Well, they obviously had confidence in Carlton Davis, right? And that proved to be wrong. I mean, you're only gonna realize that once you see it. So they made adjustments there in the second quarter, I think, and it wasn't enough, obviously. But I get. I don't know what they were thinking with having Carlton Davis on him. It also, I also have to bring up, Jamel Dean was injured in that game too, so he could have been an option to have cover Tyreek Hill at the time, or helped out with coverage. But me personally, I was very pleased with the second half and how they came out of halftime and made it into a game, because, in all intents and purposes, that game was over in the second quarter. And, the Bucs put themselves in a position to actually, possibly go and tie or actually possibly win the game there. Unfortunately, the defense wasn't able to make the plays when it mattered. And so that kind of bit them in the butt, but it is what it is. They're the former champs. They're the cream of the crop. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And obviously on that day, the Bucs just didn't have it in them. And, you learn. You go into a week, week 13 bye. I mean, that's a long stretch of games without having some rest. So this is some good stuff. They played well at the end of that game, and there's a lot that you can learn from, and rest your bodies, get your mind right. Let's go end the season right.
I agree. Do you still believe in Coach Arians and Todd Bowles on both sides of the ball? Do you believe they can get it done? And do you believe in some circumstances that they've kind of been outcoached?
Yeah, I mean, there have been games where they've been outcoached, definitely, especially, I mean, Sean Payton, is the first person that comes to mind. That guy's a mastermind. You have Andy Reid, and then you got Sean McVay, who are all like offensive gurus. I do believe in Bruce Arians. I am kind of getting sick and tired of this no risk it, no biscuit philosophy. I do wish that the Bucs ran the ball a lot more often. But, I think the product of them not running is just because of their slow starts, 1, and 2, because they're falling behind in terms of points early in the game. So they have to kind of abandon ship. But I believe in Bruce. I'm not gonna jump ship yet. We're 7-5. What's there to freak out about? I mean, we've been notorious losers for the past 12 seasons. So I'm good. I believe.
Do you believe that there's some type of friction between Brady and Arians?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I'm sure they have some things in their minds that they say, but they say internally, but they don't say to each other. But honestly, I think they're fine. I think that's all external noise. In the press conference after the game, they had mentioned that Nikovich was saying that Brady needs a new coach. And Brady was, a pro and saying, listen, that's outside noise, that it comes with the territory of being the GOAT. You're going to get criticism, and you're going to get the clickbait, headlines saying that there's friction where there's no real evidence. That's just people saying that there is. And there's no evidence of it.
We had another clickbait article here. It was from Bucky Brooks of the NFL.com. And he was saying basically the Bucs have buyer's remorse. Did they keep their receipt? And the reason why he says that is because basically, in so many words, Brady doesn't fit the offense. In fact, he says TB12 remains one of the NFL's best passers to intermediate range, 10 to 19 air yards, boosting a 66.7% completion rate. Of course, second in the league, 11.2 per attempt, 8th and 9 touchdowns. In the losses, he's got 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 20-2, which is good in the wins. So he's saying basically in so many words, the Bucs could have buyer's remorse. I know you're not on the inside, but is that how you feel? Or once again, is this somebody just trying to make a story, something out of nothing?
Yeah, I think he's just trying to make something out of nothing. I mean, come on, baby. It's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT, you know? Like, he's second in the league in terms of yardage. Yeah, has he thrown up some ducks out there to cause interceptions? Of course, yeah. But that comes with the territory of the no risk it, no biscuit. Jameis Winston last year had 30 interceptions. And Tom Brady has what, 11 now?
Yes, 11. And people are talking about career high. His career high is 14. He may surpass that, but he's also got 28 touchdowns, and he's second in the league in throwing yardage. So I think, again, throwing deep kind of it annoys me because you see that he hasn't necessarily been that accurate. He's more accurate on the short and intermediate. So if you're running the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, let's make you Bruce Arians, Juan. Would you put in more of the short to intermediate passes for Tom Brady to make that offense work? And do you think that helps that offense be more consistent in this bye week?
Yeah, I mean, if it's me playing Madden, I'm definitely taking the short, intermediate passes because that's what he's done for the last 20 years. You know, why fix something that's not broken and then sprinkle in some of those long balls? You know, I think that's what they should do, and I think that's what they're gonna do coming out of this week. They're gonna have a solid 2 weeks to think over of what's going right and what's going wrong, and try to formulate a game plan for the next 4 weeks to get the ball to the playmakers and hopefully get some W's.
No, I agree. Absolutely get some W's here. You talked about the running game before. Didn't get a chance to hit on that. How disappointed are you that they don't give the ball to the fourth leading rusher in the NFL and a victim of volume in a Ronald Jones? And then Coach BA this week talks about how he needs to get the ball to Jones 20 times a game or more. How disappointed are you? Or did you expect, once again, this Bucs offense to go away from the running game, much like they did last year?
I am a little disappointed, because he has been showing some flashes of greatness. I mean, the guy, it's not every day a guy makes a 98-yard touchdown play. And the last month, he hasn't been fed the ball as much as we would all like him to, because we see that explosive nature that he plays with. So it is a little disheartening. And honestly, he could be up there, top 3 rushers, had they fed them the ball more. But at the end of the day, the slow starts, that kind of plays into him not getting the ball. More the lack of defensive production and holding teams to a 3 and out, or holding them to not score, that also affects that too, because once you go behind the points, you gotta start slinging the ball around to catch up.
Yeah, you really do. Do you think that's their identity going forward? Because like our guy Chuck said, it's getting colder now. In the colder months, you have to have a running game and a defense. Should that be the Bucs' identity? And do you think that's going to be the Bucs' identity going forward, with having more balance and running the ball with either Jones or Fournette?
Well, now that we have a healthy Ali Marpet, we'll see how Donovan Smith does. Tristan Wirfs has played phenomenal as a rookie, and Ryan Jensen and Alex Kappa, I think they've been doing a pretty good job, especially on the run protection. I think, yeah, definitely that's what they're going to have to do, especially in the colder month. Although, we're playing in the Dome 3 times in Raymond James Stadium, in December, so it's not too cold. But yeah, I think Yeah, I think that's gonna be. I think that's definitely gonna be a game plan. You gotta run the ball. You gotta run the clock down, control the clock, and then that sets up the play action. That's where Tom Brady is the most dangerous. Is if you could get good runs, set up the play action. You get Mike Evans on a 50-yard bomb and hook me up with some points on the fantasy team. You know what I'm saying?
Well, how you doing on your fantasy team? And then talking about Evans, do you think he will eclipse that 1,000 yards receiving? Because I think he only needs about 90 yards a game coming up. In your opinion, does he get it? And how are you doing on your fantasy football team this year?
Well, on my fantasy, this is the last week before playoffs. I'm going up against the guy that I'm trying to battle with for that last six seed for the playoffs. So this is a big game for me. Unfortunately, Mike Evans isn't playing, so I got a bunch of scrubs filling in for him. But wish me luck.
Well, look, I had Will Fuller, and he was one of my top receivers, and he just went out with PEDs, which I can't understand. The guy can't stay healthy. He's taking PEDs. That's the reason why he cannot stay healthy. Obviously.
You would think if he was on the PEDs, he'd stay healthy.
Right, but it's actually the opposite of that. So he's out for the year. That's definitely a blow to my fantasy team. So we'll see. But it looks like in both fantasy leagues, I'm pretty good shape, but not as good as I want to be. So
yeah,
I care about your fantasy football team. With Mike Evans, do you think he eclipses the 1,000-yard receiving?
I sure hope so. I'm really pulling for him. If he does, I'm gonna get a nice, legit Tampa Bay Buccaneer jersey, the stitched, elite version. If Mike Evans can do it, because he's gonna cement himself as the only player to do it. I sure hope so. My heart says yes. My brain says he's just gonna come up short.
It's so typical of 2020. All right, Juan Agudelo, thanks a lot for joining us here. Once again, go ahead and promote Tough Bucs podcast on YouTube, please.
Check out the Rude Boy at Tough Bucs on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter at Tough Bucs. You can check out my YouTube, and that's where you're going to see some content around everything Tampa Bay Buccaneer related.
Oh, yeah, doing the Macho Man. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you right there. Thanks a lot, Juan Agudelo, for joining us here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, powered by 320solar.com. All right, boss?
Giddy up. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays, brother.
Happy holidays, buddy, and be safe, and we'll see you next time here on the Sports Web. All right, boss? All right, there you go. Juan Agudelo of the Tough Bucs podcast. So that's it. From here, I'm going to end it on this Friday night. Have a safe weekend. Again, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Next week or next Monday, we will have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, on with us. We'll have Leo Haggerty, the legend, and we'll be getting you ready all week long for the Vikings versus the Bucs at Raymond James Stadium for the Bucs to finish out this homestand. Thanks to all the guests, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Of course, Harry the Greek giving all his fine picks. He'll be on tomorrow night with Tampa Bay Ray and Couple Ray. On that edition, I believe it starts about 6 o'clock, but knowing Ray, just keep it locked here on Bucs Report. Of course, our new guy, the Ian Rappaport of Bucs Report, in my opinion, Chuck Von Schell, and of course, Juan Agudelo of the Tough Bucs podcast. So like I said, we'll be back on Monday night at 9 o'clock here. Do 3 things for me. Get your weekend started. No Bucs football, but you get a chance to sit back, relax, and watch some great shows here on Bucs Report along with NFL football. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. See you on Monday night on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, powered by 320solar.com. Have a great weekend.
Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs report. It's the Sports Lab. I'm your host, Jimmy White, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet?
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Just because I let it slide doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart till it's almost wide. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.
All right, we have spent a lot of time debating whose offense the Bucs are running. Is it Tampa Tom or Buccaneer Bruce? Here's what let's do. Let's shelve that and just get to something everyone can agree on. It is the wrong offense, and it is flat killing the football team. Let me count the ways. First, play action. Tom Brady is second in the league in yards per play when they run it, but that is almost never. Only 2 teams in the sport have run it less. That makes no sense. Last Sunday, head-to-head, Patrick Mahomes ran play action 17 times, Brady 5. The next problem is motion. His last 3 seasons in New England, Brady's teams were second in using pre-snap motion. Worked out well. They went 36-12. They made 2 Super Bowls. This year, the Buccaneers are 15th, despite Brady's passer rating being 24 points higher when they do it. And he is pressured, hit, and sacked less. Those are facts. They're not opinions. But none of it is as bad as this. The no risk it, no biscuit thing is a disaster. Brady has thrown more deep balls than any quarterback in the league, despite the fact that he's 26th in completion percentage on those throws. And all the Bucs do is throw it. They pass on 66% of their plays. That's the highest for Brady in his career. They're 28th in the league in rushing, and they had 1 game in which they ran it 5 times. That's the fewest in any NFL game since they started keeping stats, which was 1933. So, how's it going? Tampa is 7-5. They finally have their bye. Maybe they change things up. It isn't too late. None of the 4 games left on their schedule is against a winning team. But if the next month doesn't look different and a whole lot better, the question is going to be, do Brady and Bruce run this back again next year? And if so, the even better question might just be, why?